turn visitors away under new legislation being introduced in Parliament next week. The law change would mean patients have the legal right to have a friend or a relative by their side at all times. It's partly been introduced to combat the so-called hangover from COVID, with many institutions keeping some of the restrictions imposed during the pandemic, which can vary dramatically depending on where you are in the UK. Well, changing the law to prevent what's being called forcible separation of patients from family members is due to be introduced in Parliament next week. Let's speak to Diane Mayhew, who is the co-founder of Rights for Residents, a group created during the pandemic. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning, Chloe. Thank you for having me on.
No, it's a pleasure. Tell us, first of all, how much do rules differ around the country?
Hugely. Rights for Residents was originally set up to campaign against people not being able to see loved ones in care homes. We've since actually joined forces with the Relatives and Residents Association to create a charity called Care Rights UK. But we will still be the campaign voice, campaigning for the right to maintain contact, as you've just said, in all circumstances across health and social care. But what we're still hearing is, not as much now in care homes, but certainly in hospitals, that the disparity is huge, and that can differ between ward to ward. So in the same hospital, so you may have one ward that allows someone in and another one that doesn't. But I think what's really important to state here, Chloe, is that this 10-minute rule bill that's occurring on Tuesday, it's not actually about visiting. It's about allowing an essential care supporter who can provide the care that only a family member or close friend can bring. And that is very different to a visitor.
Tell us the impact that people have felt by not being able to have people with them when they've wanted to. We heard horror stories, for example, during the pandemic of people who couldn't be with loved ones as they were dying, women giving birth without their husband or partner with them. Tell us what impact it's had on people.
Huge impact. I've personally been affected by this. My dad, unfortunately, died of COVID in April 2020. He was taken into hospital from home, and obviously at the time nobody knew about the virus. We didn't know enough, did we? So we all kind of went along with it. But the impact that had on my mum, myself, my family has been absolutely huge. When the paramedics came to take my dad, the last words that he said to my mum were, "Aren't you coming with me?" And not one of his family were allowed to even say goodbye. I literally had to stay awake all night waiting for the consultant to ring me to tell me that my dad was on his way. And that will haunt me for the rest of my life. And Jenny, my partner, the co-founder also of Rights for Residents, her mum was in a care home and she wasn't allowed to see anybody either. And we had these awful window visits. We had the iPads, which she didn't understand because she had advanced dementia and she just couldn't understand where her family had gone. She kept saying, "Where are my daughters?" She felt abandoned. And the deterioration that we witnessed over that time was so significant. She lost the power of speech. She couldn't feed herself anymore. She couldn't remember how to even pick a drink up and, take the fluids that she absolutely needed. And sadly, she also passed away. And I think, the legacy that's left for people is huge. For myself and Jenny, we can't remember our loved ones without remembering that horrific experience that they and we went through. And things have changed a lot now, and we're still hearing that in some cases that this is still going on. And when someone's got dementia, you are the eyes, ears and voice of that person, and you understand them better than anyone. And so, it's dangerous not to have that input, whether in hospital or a care home, because, you are the person that can cajole them into eating to make sure that they take the fluids. You've got a personal history with that person. So, that's why it is absolutely vital. We can't bring people back. What's happened has gone, and there is nothing that we can do to change that now. But what we can do is protect people in the future, both the people that are needing the care and the people that are providing it. Because this is not a party political issue. This affects all of us, and it could be you or me one day.
Absolutely. Diane, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. I'm very grateful to you.
Thank you, Chloe.
That is Diane Mayhew, who's the co-founder of Rights for Residents. So, yeah, that legislation being introduced in Parliament on Tuesday of next week, basically meaning that people in hospitals and care homes will have the right to have a friend, a relative, someone with them 24 hours a day. It's that kind of hangover from COVID, which is just bonkers when you hear from Diane, that in the same hospital there can be different rules on different wards.
It's so distressing, as she was outlining as well. Your experiences, if you'd like to share them, please text 87222 and start your message with the word Times to get in touch. Now,